Okay, so I'm going to record the session, and Ravi is going to forward you guys the access for recorded sessions. So we discussed about all these features. Okay, so coming to the functional setup manager, there is a functionality. So when you have the access, so when we discussed yesterday about whenever you create a user and password and assign the various roles for the user from OIM, Oracle Identity Management Administrator. So we are going to log in as a HCM administrator. So the roles could be an application implementation consultant or HCM administrator, something like that. So we have the functional setup manager role which is available. The name for that particular role is called the functional setup manager, FSM. So going forward, as a functional consultant, we'll be using a functional setup manager role for doing all the initial setups. So the setups can be creating an enterprise, creating legal entities. We will discuss what is what and all in our further sessions. So we'll create business units, reference data sets, departments, locations, jobs, positions, and then so all these configuration related things we will be doing through the functional setup manager. And then thereafter, once we go live and hand over the system to business, the HR specialist or payroll specialist, depending on the offering that you have implemented. So they're going to use their respective roles. So for HR, we have the HR specialist role. And for payroll, we have the payroll specialist role. And for benefits, we have the benefits specialist role. So like that, payroll manager we have, HR manager we have. So we have different roles. So when compared to the EB's applications, we call them as responsibilities. Now we are calling it as a different role. Okay, so going forward, so we'll be using the functional setup manager as a functional consultant. And once we go live, we should not be creating any employees as a functional consultant because that is a conflict of roles. So we are responsible for completing the configurations only, but not the transactions. So creating an employee is a transaction that should be done by the HR specialist. Okay, so the screen looks like this. Anyhow, I'm going to take you guys to the instance. Okay, so before getting to the instance, I just want to highlight on the differences and compared to the eBiz, Oracle e-business suite and PeopleSoft, how the cloud applications are designed. So when you talk about some of the objects like organizations and legislations, so these are in PeopleSoft, we call them as business units and set IDs. So those things have been brought here to the Fusion applications, and they made it as configurable things. So the same organizations and legislations are brought over here to the Fusion applications as business units and set IDs. So if you see certain features are directly brought from eBiz suite to Fusion, and certain features again brought from PeopleSoft to Fusion. So for example, if you take organizations, the same organization's name is being deferred in PeopleSoft as business units, and the business units naming concept has been adapted in Fusion. So these functionalities are configurable, adaptable, and extensible also. And when you talk about the person and employment in eBiz suite, the same thing is called in PeopleSoft as person and job. So now it has been brought over here as a person and employment in Fusion application. And in eBiz, we have the date track functionality. So date tracking means doing the changes for any of the employee by going through the future date or going to the past dates. If at all, if the HR specialist forgot to do some updates for the employee record. and the backdated. So doing the transactions in backdated or in future dated too. The same thing is called in PeopleSoft as date effectivity. So now it has been brought over here into the Fusion. And there are hierarchies in EBS, the position hierarchy, the organization hierarchy, the global hierarchy. So where we define the complete organization structure. So however the organization on the top, we may have the business group, and then under that we may have different divisions, and under that we may have different business units, and under that we may have different departments, and under departments we may have different sub-departments. Okay, so that's what we call the hierarchies in EBS, and in PeopleSoft we used to call it as trees, organization trees or something like that. So now in Fusion we call them as trees. So we do have different trees concept here. So we have 4 types of trees. One is the organization tree, department tree, geographical tree, and the position trees. So we're going to talk about each one of the trees, how we define that. The trees are nothing but the hierarchy, which department is under which department is under which business unit, which business unit is under which division, something like that. It's just a flow of the organization, not the people or not the positions. Okay. Then we have also the position trees where each position is reporting to each position. So for example, on top we have the CEO. Under CEO we may have a CFO, CIO, CTO and all those. And under CIO or CTO again we have vice presidents, IT or whatever. And then under him the delivery managers. So like this, position to position reporting, we'll call it as position trees. So we'll discuss further those topics. And then coming to the closely integrated and loosely integrated is something like in EBS suite, we have all the modules and functionalities are closely integrated. In PeopleSoft, it's kind of a plug and play kind of thing, loosely integrated. So by taking the best out of these 2 products, the EBS suite and PeopleSoft, whichever the functionality they feel that this particular functionality is the best in EBS suite and this particular functionality is best in the PeopleSoft. So they brought those best product lines or brought best features into the Oracle Fusion. So to make it a very good global process. Okay, so and let me also highlight on what are all the different things changed when compared to the PeopleSoft or EBS in the Fusion. So this may be helpful for the guys who are from EBS background. So this may not really help for the people who are freshers to the ERP applications and Fusion. So compared to PeopleSoft, we have the action reasons available for work structures. Action is defaulted to create or update behind the scenes. So the action reasons, we will talk about much on this. Why we use actions, action reasons associated with each action. So this is for the auditing purpose. So, and compared to EBS, in EBS we used to have total 8 key flex fields. So the out of 8 key flex fields, 6 key flex fields we used to use for creating a business group. And now those key flex fields have been discontinued here. No more workforce related key flex fields here in Fusion application. The workforce related key flex fields are like the competence, the grade, the job, the position. So these key flex fields are not there. So we do have 2 more key flex fields which are continued in Fusion applications. Those 2 are people group and competence key flex, cost allocation key flex field. So we will discuss in our further topics. So those workforce structures or work structure related key flex field has been discontinued. It's no more in the Fusion application. And in EBS, we don't have any action reason to record. For example, if you are changing a job for an employee, the system never asks you, why are you changing the job in EBS? But in Fusion, in PeopleSoft, it is there. And the same functionality has been brought over here to Fusion applications. So that whenever HR specialist is changing a job for an employee so that they can record some reason why they are changing the job. So let me put all of you on mute. All right. Okay, so ability to record why a change was made. So this is just for the audit purpose for the HR top management, that why the change has been made. So from time to time, they can track the changes for employee records, updates, and approvals also can be enabled. So you have in eBase, we have very limited approval business processes where the approval management is enabled. Where once you initiate the transaction, so you can route to a manager approval or a HR manager approval or something like that. So we have a very limited business process there in eBase. And coming to the Fusion applications, you have for each and every business process. For example, if you create a location, if you create an organization, if you create a department, so like this, if you change a job for the employee, if you change a location for the employee, so for each and every action, almost you have the the approval process enabled as an out-of-the-box functionality, and you can route for any approvals. And then we have the secured objects. So LOAs are filtered based on what applies to this user interface and the user's security privileges. So this is a kind of list of values or value sets you can define by the application and then filter them based on the security privileges. So which list of values can be seen by which role. So these security privileges also there. And there is another concept which has been newly introduced, which is available there, of course, in eBase, but only for the locations, which is not available for any other objects. So for each and every object in eBase, we used to have start date and end date, and the status goes based on the end date field. So whether you have the end date field populated, that means it is inactive. Whether if you have end date field blank, that means that is active. So based on that, we used to track in eBase. So now they have introduced the status, one more list of value as inactive. So when you don't want to see that particular list of value or a particular object, so you can always change the status to inactive, so that is no more usable in the system. It's not going to appear in further setups wherever it is supposed to be appearing. Or whenever you want to, once you make it as inactive, whenever you want to make it as active, then you can always go and change the status to active. So that is the new functionality in Fusion. And so let's move on to further. Okay, so coming to the organization structure in Fusion. So these are the important topics, and so till now, the guys who are from eBase, so if they try to compare whatever the things that changed from eBase to Fusion, or PeopleSoft to Fusion, you guys can concentrate on that. And the other guys who are fresh to the ERP and fresh to the Fusion applications, so they can just ignore the previous topics. But from hereafter, this is more important. So we're going to talk about the Fusion organizational model or organizational structures. So the top level organization in Fusion is the enterprise. That is the top organization level for structures. So this is called like a group of companies, you can say. The enterprise is nothing but a group of company. The example for the enterprise is, we can say, Tata Group. So the Tata Group is a very high level enterprise under which you have so many companies. So that is called the enterprise. So in the organizational structure, the enterprise is going to come on the top. That is the first thing that you will be defining as a configuration step. And then the next step is, the next setup thing is the legislative data group. So this particular object is going to support the payroll related or any other localized legislative specific things, data availability. So the legislative data group is specific to a particular country. So we create a legislative data group and associate with a particular country. So whenever you do that, and whichever the legislative data group that you are going to use in your further setups related to the payroll and all, so that's going to bring the legislative specific thing or the statutory specific things to the, it makes available to all the configurations. For example, if you take India, you have the statutory related things for all the employees, like the Provident Fund, the professional tax, and the employee state insurance like ESI, and you also have the gratuity, and you also have the income tax slabs, or various slabs based on the salary bands, based on income bands. So this is going to bring, whenever you create a legislative data group by associating the country as India, and whenever you are doing the payroll setups by selecting the legislative data group, it's going to bring all these statutory related things. So if you are implementing for a company where the company is an MNC and have the operations across the globe in various countries, and they decided to go with various payrolls for various countries. So in that case, you would be actually creating multiple legislative data groups. So for each country, you would be creating a legislative data group, so that each country will have their own localization specific statutory things available to the payroll. So that is why we use the legislative data group. And moving on to the payroll statutory unit. So this is for the reporting purpose. So we have legal entities or legal employers that we call. So the payroll statutory unit is a representative of all the legal entities or legal employers for reporting to the government. For example, if you take India, your client may have more than one legal entity. So the legal entity means it's a registered company. Since if your client is a big client and big company, so they may have so many operations, so many divisions. They may have a pharma division, they may have a business consulting division, they may have IT consulting division, or they may have a software consulting or a software development division, something like that. If each company is registered separately with the government, so we call them as separate legal entity. So they have their own registered numbers, headquarter office addresses, and all those, and a legal representative as a head of those companies. So that we call as a legal entity. And if you want to report to the government or submit various headcount reports or the statutory payroll related reports to the government, if you want to do it individually for each legal entity, you can always do that. Or if the client they don't want to do individually, because if individually they do that, for each company they have to represent one person to do that, to take care of all the statutory related things. So instead, they will say, they will ask one guy to take care of everything, and one company to take care of, on one company's name to take care of everything on behalf of all other companies or legal entities. So that is what we call it as a payroll statutory unit. So we identify one of the legal entity as a payroll statutory unit and associate that payroll statutory unit with all other legal entities. So we're going to do this step in payroll. So we'll further discuss during the payroll session. Okay, so that is what we call it as a payroll statutory unit. So the thing which you need to remember from this slide is what is enterprise and what is legislative data group, and what is payroll statutory unit, and what is a legal employer. So the legal employer is again the legal entity which is going to hire the people. So where the employees are going to work, in which legal entity the employees are going to work. we call it as a legal employer. So when the legal entity, you may have registered. Hey, sorry guys. Think there was some interruption in my network. All right. So we were discussing about the legal employer. So the legal entity means whenever you register the company name with the government as per the Factories Act or Shops and Establishment Act, whichever the act is that is exist in various countries. As per that, you will be registering your company. Then it becomes a legal entity, but not the legal employer. So for recruiting the people, again, you have to take the approval from labor department or labor as per the labor laws, whatever. So you'll be obtaining the permission and saying that you are going to recruit the people and employees are going to work in the organization. So that's what. What about others? Guys, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, Raz, can you please check your speakers? I think you have some issue. Okay, thanks guys. So that is, then we call it as a legal employer. So wherever you are going to recruit or hire the people in whichever the legal entity, you are going to classify it as a legal employer. So how are we going to classify this legal employer? We will see in our further topics. And also we have one more object as tax reporting unit. So whichever the reporting unit, whichever the legal entity that you want to use for reporting the taxes to the government. So we use, we classify that as a tax reporting unit, and we populate the taxation numbers or whatever, the tax identifier number, whatever, we'll populate to the legal entity. So we will see in our further topics how we do that. Okay, so let's move on. So this is the comparison with the whatever the objects that we have in Fusion. So how it is existing in EBSuite or how it is existing in PeopleSoft. So the enterprise and legislative data group both together, it's defined as a business group in EBSuite. Because while defining the business group itself, we will say the company name, the top ultimate holding company name, and also we associate with one of the country. So if we associate the business group with one of the country, that's going to bring all these statutory related local legislative specific things for that particular country to the payroll. So that's only one single entity, one single object that we define in EBSuite as business group. So that have been split into two objects now in Fusion as enterprise and a legislative data group. So the enterprise takes care of the very high level holding company, ultimate holding company details, and legislative data group is going to take care of the local legislative specific things for which country or for whichever country you are creating a legislative data group. So similarly in PeopleSoft, the ultimate holding company is created as a business unit, and the legislative specific things are going to be created as a regulatory region set ID or something like that in PeopleSoft. Okay, so coming to the payroll statutory unit, we have the in EBSuite we have the tax group classification for any organization, and we have the common paymaster functionality in PeopleSoft. And in Fusion we call it as a legal employer, and in EBSuite we call it as a reporting organization. So whatever the organization that you report as a you classify it as a reporting organization. So that's nothing but a legal employer. And in PeopleSoft we used to call it as a company. And the tax reporting unit would be your GRE, so government reporting entity. So we call it as a legal entity or GRE, government reporting unit in EBSuite. And in PeopleSoft we used to call it as a company. So the guys who are from EBSuite and who are from PeopleSoft, they can just try to compare what is available in the Fusion now as a new concepts. Okay, so this is just a flow diagram of how the organization structure looks like in Fusion. So this is exactly we are going to define for various clients. So the top one is the enterprise. We call it as a Vision Corporation something. For example, we took as a Vision Corporation is the top ultimate holding company enterprise. That means it's a group of the companies. And coming to the, so we took examples of two countries. The Vision Corporation operations are existing in two countries. One is China and other one is India. So if we are implementing the payroll, or if you want to see the legislative specific things in your employee related things also, so we create two legislative data groups. One is for the Vision China, so that the legislative data group for China is going to bring all the China local legislative specific things, statutory payroll related things to the, it makes available to the employees. And again, Vision India. So there are two legislative data groups we create, and both of them will be classified as a payroll statutory units, Vision China and Vision India. And coming to the legal employers, so we have manufacturing China, one kind of division, or we can say another division is installation China. Two different companies we have under China itself, Vision China. One is the manufacturing and another one is the installation. So we classify them as a legal employer so that they can hire some employees in manufacturing, so that they can hire some employees in installation. And coming to India, we have the installation India only. So all these three will become the legal employer. These are nothing but the legal entities which are classified as legal entities, means registered companies with the government. So in China, they might have registered Vision manufacturing something or Vision installation something. Two different registrations might have happened with the register of companies. And in India, we have only one company, Installation India, Vision Installation. So they will register with the register of companies. These are the legal entities. And once we classify them as a legal entity, we are going to recruit the people to work in those companies. So we classify them as legal employers. Just give me a minute. All right. So we classify them as legal employers so that we can hire the employees there. And then coming to the tax reporting unit. So if you want to report the tax for manufacturing entity separately and installation entity separately, so you're going to create different tax reporting IDs. If you have the tax registrations, so if you register with the income tax department with the name of materials China, let us say under manufacturing itself, they want to do the tax reporting in two entities, like materials they want to make it separately and assembly they want to make it separately. So this is a kind of paying the tax and reporting the tax for the government. And under installation, you have only one tax reporting unit. So this is kind of tax reporting unit IDs is the, whenever you register with the income tax department as an SSC, as a corporate SSC, so they're going to give the identification number like a TIN number or whatever the numbers based on each country statutory related objects. Okay, so that's what the organization's examples are. And then coming to the global enterprise and legislative data groups. So anyhow, we will get into this once we start getting into the instance. So let me take you through the instance. So I'll just log into the instance. Let me log out and log in back. Okay. So once you have the agreement with Oracle for cloud applications, so you will be given a particular URL like this. For each client may have a different URL. So like this, Oracle cloud.com or whatever. And whenever your OEM administrator, Oracle Identity Management Administrator, creates a user login for the implementation consultant, and they will be given they will give the username and password for the application consultants. So like this, the rcs.employee or something like that, and then will be given password. So with those credentials, you'll be able to log in. And the roles which are assigned to the initial implementation consultants is the application implementation consultant. So there is a role, so which is assigned to a respective user. So once you have the application implementation consultant role, so you will have the access for all the configurations, and you will be able to do the configurations with the help of the functional setup manager. So by default, the functional setup manager is also available there once we add application implementation consultant. So we'll see now once we log in how the system is going to look like. All right. So this is the home page. Once you log in, you can see the home page like this. So you have different things available here. So this is the user login name. And once you see here, this is a home button. So wherever you are and whichever the page you are, if you click on this, it's going to bring to this particular home page. And if you want to search anything on this particular page, you can right away search it here. There's the search function. So if you're not sure to find out what is there here and all, so among all these functionalities, you can search it here. And then if you want to make something as favorites, unlike we do for Internet Explorer or whatever, so you can use for adding your favorites or marking them as a favorites, or recent items are going to be shown here once you click on the star mark. And then this is going to be a watch list. So whatever the things that recently you watched, so that will be available here. So that's a kind of watch list functionality. And then here we have the bell symbol. This is a kind of notifications area. So whenever you do some transactions, if you create a job, if you create a position, or for whichever the transactions, the notifications are enabled. So you are going to receive notifications. So if an employee submits a leave application and a notification is going to come to the manager for approving it. So those notifications will be available here. So if you click on this, you can see the notifications also under this. And this is about your look and feel about the accessibility part of your dashboards. And this is the help symbol. So wherever you are, whichever the page you are, if you want to take the help of that particular page, so what is that field is meant for, and how you are going to populate that field. So that is going to help this particular help button. Okay. So if you see here, these are nothing but the favorites. And went to the notifications. Let me click on this. You see here, these are the notifications required. Reorganization for someone, or assign work schedule for someone, create a location. So for each and every transaction for which the notifications are enabled, you can see the notifications here. And if at all, if it is a leave of absence from an employee to a manager, so they can click on this and approve the leave of absence. So like this, you can see the notifications. And once you see here, there is a user and there is an arrow mark here under the user login name. If you click on this, you're going to get various actions here. So this is for the personalization, the technical part, and under the administration, you have the setup and maintenance. So once you have the application implementation consultant role assigned to you by identity manager. So anyhow, the OAM part will be taken care by Ravi. So I'll ask him to take the session for next couple of sessions from Ravi. So maybe next couple days. We'll check the timings, and so that you can understand how the users are created and how the roles are assigned to the users. So then you'll be very much clear on that. So this is setup and maintenance, which we use in our configurations. And before going there, so let me talk about what is there here. So this is a navigator. So depending on what are all the different roles that you have, so whether you have a HCM application implementation consultant, a financial implementation consultant, or whatever the roles that you assign, depending on that, you can see a lot of functionalities available here under each head of these. So if you see here, this particular rcs.employee login, so they have roles for doing the financial setups, marketing related setups, and we have the partner management offering, so manufacturing, sales, warehouse operations, fixed assets, and all those things. And this particular login is also having a manager, HR specialist role. The HR specialist role shows that as a my workforce. So as a HR specialist, this particular user can create employees, can do the transactions for employees, can create all the talent management related transactions and all those. So this is called the HR specialist role. So like this, whatever the roles that been assigned through the OEM, so you can see all of them through the navigator. And also you can see various options here. So directly if you want to select, you can select it from here too. So you can see about me, my team, you have the payroll offering. So if you want to go directly from here, you can choose from here too. My workforce, you can see here, my workforce as a HR specialist role. About me is a employee self-service. My team is a manager self-service. So this is employee self-service, this is manager self-service, and this is HR specialist role. So all of the roles have been assigned to this particular user. So depending on that, you can see here. And coming to this particular part where we have the dashboard kind of thing. So based on the transactions that you do, or based on the pending transactions that you have, so that's going to show as a action points or pending things or recent conversations, whatever. So that's going to show here. So you can easily access, you can usually move here by clicking on the arrow. All right, so let me get into the setup and maintenance part. So all these things we are not going to use. These are a little bit technical things. And in Fusion, we don't actually recommend the technical modifications or anything, any customizations. So unless a particular client want to change the color of a page or want to hide a particular field on a particular page, something like that we'll be able to do by going to the personalizations or something like that. But in our practice, in our session, we'll be using only the setup and maintenance part among all these functions. So we'll go to the setup and maintenance. So we also call it as a functional setup manager. Okay. So once you come to the setup and maintenance homepage, you can see a lot of offerings here. So you can see here, if you want to display all offerings, if you want to display the offerings which are provisioned to this particular user, so you can click on this. So these are all the different offerings here. For example, if you see coexistence for HCM is an offering. It's a kind of module, you can say. So the terminology which we use here in Fusion is offering, and in EBS we used to call it as a module. HR is a module, self-service HR is a module, and then payroll is a module, time and labor is a module in EBS. So like this, the module name has been replaced here with offering. So the coexistence for HCM is something like this offering will be used normally when you want to maintain the HR in your legacy system as well as in Fusion. Both are coexisting. In that case, we'll be using this. So this is a kind of a shared functionality. That means you're not actually implementing the complete HR, but you'll be sharing this module, sharing this offering. So like this, whatever the offerings that you enable for implementation, you can see all those: grants management, incentive compensation, manufacturing and supply chain materials management, marketing, all those. So if you want to move right side, you have the arrow here. So you can move one by one. Okay, you have the workforce development, you have the workforce deployment, and you also have the values, sales, and all those things. So coming to the HCM offerings, So we have the coexistence of HCM, that is one offering, and we have the workforce development is one offering, and we have workforce deployment is another offering. So these are all the different offerings that we have. So again, if you say workforce development, so with this offering, we can actually implement the talent management, the goals management, and the performance management functionalities. So this is a kind of grouping of offers. And then we also have the workforce deployment. So with this particular offering, we can implement global HR and payroll too. So these two things are going to be doing this. And we also have another offering called compensation. So with the compensation, we can implement the comp workbench and benefits related functionalities. So once, if you are trying to implement for any of the client, whatever the offerings that they want to implement, so first you need to add them into your offerings page, and then based on that you can get into that. So now let us park it here for time being. We'll discuss more when we go to the implementation projects. And now let's discuss about the about value chain planning section. So you have based on the selected offerings here. For example, I have selected workforce development. So workforce development related documents, if you want to download to your local drive, so you can see offering content guide. So you have in PDF format, HTML format, or Excel format. So you can do that. And then whatever the associated features that are there for workforce development, you can again download in 3 different formats. And whatever the setup task lists that are there, what are the different tasks that you need to perform to complete the offering configuration, so you can also do that. All right. So, and again, coming to the related business objects, related enterprise applications. So all these documentations which are related to this particular offering can be downloaded by selecting each one. So this is workforce development. And then when you click on this workforce deployment, so you can also download these documents, right? So this is all about this one. And then we have the task area here. So if you click on this task on the right side, it is a task pane. So if you click on this, you have some of the configuration related things where you can use your company information, configuration packages, if you want to export and import some processes or copy configurations. So we'll not be doing much about this. So we'll go to the manage configuration pages. So where you can configure the pages, and then if you want to manage your company information, so you can see the company information here. These are not editable right now because it won't allow us to do anything. And then if you want to export or manage custom setup contents, so if you want to do some kind of modifications for these managing offerings and functional areas, if you click on this again, so you can actually manage the offerings for each and every offering. So for example, if you select the workforce deployment and go to this edit, so you can see here there is a workforce deployment thing, and if you want to move on based on under workforce deployment, what are all the different features that you want to enable or disable, you'll be able to do that from here. So by default it will be there automatically. So let us move on to the next step. So where you can see associated features that are related to the workforce deployment, enterprise structures, guided flow, or whatever, and then move on to the next. You can see the associated documents. So these are the different documents that we talked about. So which we can download, right? And then you can say done, right? So various things you can do. So will not care about much on that particular part. Or if you want to manage the features for each of the modules, each of the features, then you can see that. So I'll stop it here right now. So since we talked about a 15 minutes session, then request you all of you guys please try to join by 6:30, so that we will complete this session by 7:30. We'll close the session by 7:30. So I'll stop my explanation at 7:20, and then 7:20 to 7:30 we will have the question and answer session. So if you guys have any questions, I'm very much happy to answer you guys now. Any questions from anyone in today's topics?
Hello, Hari, Yashwant here. I joined today myself.
Okay, yeah.
So just a question regarding this. Actually, I don't have experience anything in HR. I am from BTech background. So does that create any problem for me, like understanding functionalities, or I mean, how it goes? I have
No.
yeah.
It's not going to be. It's not going to be a problem, because I'll be touching each and every point, and I'll be explaining each and every concept. It's not just like I talk about the product and I explain the product. Okay, so I'm going to get into the real business process area also. How it is, how each topic is related to a particular business process. So for example, if you are trying to say, create a location. So what is that location? How we use that location? How it is actually used in various organizations. So for each and every object, I'm going to talk in a business language, so that you'll be able to understand, okay, in HR department, related to the HR department. So these are the different transactions that every day they do. And this is how they're going to configure those things in the system. So you will be definitely able to understand.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions from anyone else?
Hello, can you hear me, Hari?
Yes, yes.
So this LDG is specific per country, right? So, for example, we cannot have two LDGs within a country. Is that the structure, or?
Yes. No. We can have the LDGs, but only thing is, you can create LDG. LDG is a name. It's just a naming convention. So you can create US LDG 1, US LDG 2, but you are going to associate with only one country.
Okay. So for example, if the line of business is different, so that may be partitioned under this payroll statutory unit, right? So no need of creating two different LDGs for that, right?
Yeah, actually there is no requirement, because if you create one LDG or two LDGs, anyhow it is going to be associated with one country only. So, okay. But if you want some kind of filtering by LDG, so this particular group of employees will have a filtering or partition by this particular LDG or something like that. So as per your design, you can create multiple LDGs. There is no issue.
Okay. And in that notification, whatever we are seeing in the home screen,
okay.
So the recruitment person will, for example, if a person applies for a job, so would that notification also come and appear for an HR who is in charge for that recruiting process?
Yes. It's going to display all the notifications. So whatever the notifications that are there, so it's going to show all the notifications.
So the recruitment will come under which module?
Now we don't have the recruitment in Fusion, because Oracle bought the Talio. Okay. Talio is a recruitment based, particular application. I'm not sure down the line whether they are going to bring all the features of Talio into Fusion, or they want to continue Talio as it is right now. I'm not sure about it.
Okay.
Keeping that in view, they have not brought any recruitment functionality in Fusion. So we don't have any recruitment functionality in Fusion.
Okay. So if a person submits a resume and also that will not be flown into this our set of modules, right? So it is totally a different piece, right?
Oh yes. Once you hire the employee, once you hire the applicant, and when the applicant becomes an employee in Taleo system, from Taleo actually you can bring those employee data here.
Okay.
So from hereafter you can start creating the employee and doing the transactions, or running the payroll, or allowing the employee to submit the time cards and all. All those transactions will be done here.
Okay, that may be a Taleo or maybe some other third-party system
True.
also, so wherein the data can flow in, right?
Yes, you are right.
That interface is a technical side, right? It's, or how does the data? Is there any functional related thing so that the data will flow in, or how does it?
No, it's a technical thing.
Okay, like a data loading kind of thing, right?
Yeah. For data loading, we have different functionalities here. So we have the HCM loader, spreadsheet loader. So if the client is very much comfortable in using the Excel sheet like a spreadsheet, put the data in spreadsheet and upload it to the system. Even a functional guy can do that with the functional, or the business user can do that. If you want to have the technical, you have the HCM loaders, API loaders, whatever the loaders that we have.
Okay, so that is fine. So if, for example, for the whole month only one employee is been recruited, for that we don't want this process, right?
Oh,
so we
yes.
can manually enter that in our system.
Correct. Yeah, you're right.
Okay. Thanks. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, all right, guys. Any other questions from anyone? Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry for interrupting.
No problem.
Myself. Hello.
Yeah, Kishore, please go ahead.
Yeah. Actually, so let's come to the part of coexistence for HCM. Actually, we are in a task of upgrading from HCM to Fusion HCM.
Okay.
So we are not directly creating the data in Fusion HCM, but instead of that, we are getting the data from Oracle HCM to Fusion HCM.
Okay.
So, how your training would be like, whether you are going to be explain the complete thing from the end to end from Fusion HCM, or are you explaining the HCM as well?
We will not be touching that coexistence part. So we are going to cover the end-to-end complete configurations.
Fine.
Yeah.
Hi, Hari. This is Subhareddy.
Yeah. Yeah, please go ahead.
In the home screen, we are seeing that all modules like that, right? In the offerings also, these modules, we can add it in the offering?
Yes. So while doing the configuration of offerings, once we add the offering, by default, whatever the functionalities that are available as part of the offering, so you're going to get it. If you want to further disable or add some more topics, some more features in your offering, you'll be able to do that. So that we'll see in our further sessions.
Okay. First initial steps and all will take care of Ravi for that creating responsibilities and all those things.
Yeah. Okay, all right, guys. Let's wrap up the session for today. Catch you tomorrow then. Take care until then. Bye-bye.